future of TV, the convergent TV activity, seems to rise and fall with the fate of linear television. The better linear television does, the more comfortable people are with the status quo. The more they get worried about changes taking place and the acceleration of data and digital and over-the-top channels and even addressability on linear, the more action people feel motivated that they need to do to stay ahead of the curve. And I think this year TV did just fine in the upfront, but I think going into next year, the baseline is it's not going to be an Olympic year, it's not going to be an election year, and people are once again thinking about, probably driven by the consumer changing habits of viewing and the continued acceleration of over-the-top distribution, about how they too can address marketers' concerns about targeting.
So tell us a little bit about, not the whole backstory of NVIDIA and AT&T, but what does that deal mean for the industry?
Yeah. So we've actually had a number of transactions take place this year in the convergent TV theme. Of course, let's not forget TubeMogul was acquired by Adobe, and that was the marketing clouds taking the recognition that they needed to be in the activation space, while primarily focused on digital, but moving towards linear TV. I think the AT&T Dish WPP consortium deal to acquire NVIDIA is actually going to have significant implications for the way TV is changing. We've always suggested to people that TV, or not just TV, but anything sort of changes in increments and along sort of linear node points. And while there's a lot of fanfare about programmatic TV, you'll probably hear more people talk about programmatic TV than you will addressable linear, but I think I would probably want to emphasize the latter. And the reason being is you already have a linear infrastructure, you already have a linear market, and all you're doing with addressable is bringing additional data, additional targeting, additional precision to a bulk reach channel that already exists. So we don't have to worry about creating, we don't have to worry about habits. We know what all of those are. We're simply taking set-top box data on a household level, in some cases on an individual level, and being able to target this massive spend category on a much more of an individual basis. And so obviously, AT&T is a new entrant buyer. Andy, we've talked about new entrant buyers coming into this space, which is always exciting. The fact that they chose to do it in consortium in order to ensure that this particular technology would be widespread was very smart. And I'm sure they'll have conversations with other folks in the ecosystem, because NVIDIA is an ecosystem-wide play. Today, addressable TV is limited to that 2 minutes an hour of local, and only by the MSOs that can actually implement it. The future is clearly rolling it out to all the MSOs, as well as to the full spectrum of all TV advertising. And when that happens, we should finally see some significant scale to a category that I know marketers are very excited about.
And Terry, let's look at next year, the prospects for the climate for deals.
Yeah.
There's some notable companies that are in registration. What is it? I know we when we met in May, it was some dire predictions about the winter and so forth. What's the weather forecast for the new year, for 2017? Yeah,
well, we had a near record year in terms of M&A volume, and next year we think the volume is going to continue. That's why I'm at CES, is for the kickoff of many of those kind of discussions as people do their planning for the year. I think you've got the continuation of a wide swath of strategic buyers in a variety of different categories: international, Chinese, domestic, TV, media, data, software. There's a lot of categories of large companies that are coming to the realization that they need some of these capabilities as these growth markets start to become more mature or start to become more sizable. So we see continued activity on a variety of fronts. When we talked about how it would be dire, it is going to be dire for a lot of companies. We are seeing a maturation of this space, which is very healthy. Let's not forget that the massive amount of fragmentation that exists in this space, is not sustainable, right? That can't last. And that when sectors get to significant growth, and remember years ago we would talk about programmatic as a new thing, and now it's the majority of the spend market in display. So as these markets get big, they naturally rationalize and therefore consolidate, and that's a healthy thing. So yes, there will be sort of winter for a lot of these startup companies, but I think overall it's going to be very healthy as we'll see a sort of like a rationalization and consolidation.
CES is coming up. We'll be there soon. What are your thoughts, expectations for that?
Yeah, so, well, the core conference is about new products and innovation. I spend my time more on the strategic meetings and discussions that are based on that innovation. There's a lot of talk about some fun and interesting, cool things, but like VR and AR and IoT and all kinds of great things that you will see on the floor at CES. And I'm not discouraging anybody from checking those out. They're very cool. They're very exciting. But from a business standpoint, from a strategic standpoint, what I advise people is that being early has the same financial profile as being wrong. So you don't want to be too early in terms of pursuing deals in some of these new nascent categories. And boy, if I was someone looking to augment the sort of advertising opportunity, I would look to an existing market that's becoming all digitally addressable: television.